Good day. This is Gaia, Group 3 of A12, and here is our info video titled Economic Change Land Conquerors. In this info video, we are going to focus on the phosphorus and sedimentary cycle, the anthropogenic effects, invasive species, and epigenetics.
Sedimentary rocks are formed on or near the Earth's surface, in contrast to metamorphic and igneous rocks, which are formed deep within the Earth. The most important geological process that lead to form sedimentary rocks are erosion, weathering, dissolution, precipitation, and lithification. Sedimentary rocks are formed from pieces of other existing rock or organic material. There are three different types of sedimentary rocks: clastic, organic, and chemical. Organic sedimentary rocks like coal form from hard, biological, like plants, shells, and bones are compressed into rocks. Sedimentary has many alternative pathways in cycle through deformation and metamorphism.
Phosphorus is a chemical element atomic number 15, with a symbol of letter P that is found on Earth in a numerous compound form, such as phosphate ion, located in water, soils, and sediments. Phosphorus is an essential nutrient for life of animals and plants, and performs a significant role in cell development and energy storage, such as ATP, DNA, and lipids. The insufficient amount of phosphorus in the soil limits the growth of plants and the main reason why farmers apply phosphate fertilizer to their plants. Farmlands tends to lose dissolved phosphorus as crops are usually harvested and removed, leaving no decaying vegetation that would replenish the used phosphorus. Phosphorus in the phosphorus cycle moves through rocks, water, soils, sediments, and even organisms. The rain and weathering of rock over time release phosphate ion and other mineral that will eventually be distributed in soils and water. Plants take up inorganic form of phosphate from the soil and may transfer through being consumed by animals or by decaying and returning the phosphate into the soil. Animals can transfer their phosphate by being consumed by other organisms such as a larger animal or by decaying and returning the phosphate into the soil. Within the soil, bacteria can make organic form of phosphate available to plants by the process of mineralization. Mineralization, where bacteria break organic matter, such as a decaying plants, into an organic form of phosphorus. Phosphorus in soil can lead up in waterways, such as rivers and eventually in oceans, that would form sediments beneath the ocean floor over time.
So how do humans impact the phosphorus cycle? There are three common human activities that affect the phosphorus cycle in a negative way. First, synthetic fertilizers that are rich in phosphorus. Second, municipal sewage plants. And lastly, detergents that contain sodium tripolyphosphate or STPP. These phosphates can remain on the water supply and leaves as a runoff. They add to the phosphorus levels in the soil and are particularly detrimental when such products are washed into local aquatic ecosystems. Eutrophication is a natural process. However, when these phosphorus that came from human activities drained into the water system and resulted in a high level of phosphorus, then it is called the artificial or anthropogenic eutrophication. There is this overabundance of plant nutrients that will result in the excessive growth of algae. When algae die or form algae blooms, it becomes toxic to plants and animals in the ecosystem. On the other hand, how do humans impact the land? Because of exponential expansion in human beings, more food and materials are being manufactured at stupendous rates, mostly stemming from forestry. Deforestation refers to the decrease in forest areas that are lost for other uses, such as agricultural croplands, urbanization, or mining activities. The Philippines is one of the most severely deforested countries in the tropics and the most deforestation that happened in the last 40 years. And now the country is paying a high price for the destruction that the people made. The country faces food insecurity due to soil erosion, experiences an average of 19 typhoons per year, and faces frequent heavy floods, mass wasting, and landslides because of the absence of forest cover. Moreover, it is a tragedy for indigenous people as they are forced to retreat into the interior and further impoverished. This loss of cultural communities is closely linked to the loss of biodiversity. Destroying the tropical forest that has a rich biodiversity means destroying the myriad creatures and flora on which the indigenous communities depend.
As of the invasive species, they can be any kind of species that can disrupt and manipulate the economy in a harmful way. These species has the ability to adapt and reproduce quickly that allows them to overconsume the resources in their new environment. Considering our topic land, these invasive species can easily manipulate the flow of cycle when these species eliminate one of the elements. An example is when the plant or crops are completely consumed by an invasive rabbit species that disrupts the phosphorus cycle through the plants. So where do these invasive species came from? Most of these invasive species are spread by human activities through the trades of plants and animals. And also, some of them came from the animal migration.
Genetics is the study of inherited variation of gene expression, active or inactive genes that do not include changes in the underlying DNA sequence. Epigenetics affects how the genes are read by the cells and consequently when the cells are expected to generate the appropriate proteins. Epigenetic changes affects the way genetic material is transmitted without actually modifying the genetic code contained in the DNA. While certain epigenetic changes are part of the natural development and aging, environmental health scientists are worried that the environmental factors such as overpopulation, pollution, burning of fossil fuels, and deforestation may trigger the genetic changes that lead to health problems and illnesses. Epigenetic variation are likely to play an important role in development and are believed to affect the broad variety of illnesses and conditions, including autoimmune and neurodevelopmental disorders, cardiovascular diseases, and cancers.
There were a total of 2 cycles that were investigated by the researcher. Some says that it considered land, water, and air are all affected caused by humans. On the other hand, the ecosystem that we are currently living are said to be destroyed by humans' activities, such as materials are being manufactured but mostly stemming from forestry. The collected data in this study may be a basis or currently happening. To lessen the damage, we must do the following. 1. Establish a good production of manufacturing or industrial resources. 2. Expand the resources. 3. Lastly, to maintain and balance the resources.
That concludes this info video, and I hope you had a better understanding of the discussed topic. Thank you for listening.